Welcome back, everyone. This, of course, is the free preview for our only on Patreon exclusive live stream of the intelligence assessment with Kevin Shipp. Kevin, how are you? Great to see you.
Jason, it's good to see you again. It's good to be with you doing the program.
You're looking very sharp, my friend, and I'm delighted to have you here with me. I'm so thankful that you've worked with me to create this show. You've been sharing information that, frankly, I haven't seen anywhere else. And as I go back and watch our shows on Patreon, I feel like I'm in a college-level course as far as how the CIA operates, not being trained for the CIA, but just understanding their methods and the general way that they are, that only someone who's been on the inside like yourself can truly share with us.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. As a matter of fact, the techniques I'm using are the ones I used as a senior briefer inside the CIA. And so I'm just doing the same professional stuff as I did before, but this time we're exposing some of the nasty things they're doing.
Right. And you know, we've been having really a tremendous response to the Only on Patreon show. It's been a difficult decision to make because, of course, we don't want to put this information behind a paywall, as it were. We don't want to block people from getting it. But at the same time, YouTube and Twitter and Facebook have become not only these overbearing, controlled environments where our friend Brandon Straka even mentioned InfoWars in a tweet, and he was just blown off of Twitter. Or maybe it was Facebook. Sorry, I think I misspoke. He was taken off of Facebook, and he had built a following for his hashtag walk away movement, where he was on the left. He is an openly gay man who has expressed his dissatisfaction with the Democrats and the left in general, and he's become a bit more conservative, and they're just totally knocking him out. So it's really important that people join us on Patreon, and when we begin the intelligence assessment just 28 minutes from now, people are going to be able to get that on patreon.com/Kevin_Shipp. People can sponsor Kevin there on Patreon, and they'll get exclusive access to the live streams either there or on patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. People can watch the intelligence assessment with Kevin Shipp at 7 p.m. and you're going to be hearing information that you really can't hear anywhere else. Kevin, today you're going to be talking with us about Bob Woodward, who of course is widely regarded as one of the most respected American journalists, frankly, of all time. And he's got a new book coming out called Fear, about Donald Trump and the alleged nervous breakdown of the executive office that's been reported by these anonymous sources, buttressed by the anonymous op-ed in the Lion New York Times. What can you tell us about what we'll be discussing at 7 p.m. on patreon.com/Kevin_Shipp and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth?
Yeah, Jason, it's really, really important. Bob Woodward is not just a journalist. He's a known fabricator, going all the way back at the beginning of his career. He even fabricated information in All the President's Men, so much so that Ben Bradley couldn't sleep at night because he was afraid someone was going to catch on. And we'll get into some of his fabrications at 7 o'clock. But the most shocking thing is Bob Woodward's past that he's been hiding, and that is he had a top secret naval CIA clearance and was the senior briefer to General Alexander Haig, who was part of Nixon's secret government. They set up a secret NSC that did not report to Congress, and Woodward was in there briefing Haig during that time, and then it gets worse from there. He has all the markings throughout his career of a CIA operative. WikiLeaks just released an email from Podesta Clinton stating that Woodward has had a relationship professionally with the FBI going back to so-called Deep Throat. And on it goes, and we've got a slide coming up just to intro people into some of the things that this guy has done. He is not just a journalist, and he is certainly not a truthful journalist.
Wow. That's amazing. I didn't know about that WikiLeaks email release, but that is stunning. So I'm glad that you prepared this brief PowerPoint for us, because something that people who have not yet joined us on patreon.com/Kevin_Shipp or patreon.com/crowdsource the truth. Something that people who haven't seen the Patreon shows might not be aware of yet is that each week you prepare an incredibly comprehensive PowerPoint presentation and you run through it with such aplomb. I think people should really be tuning in. It is really an experience that people aren't getting anywhere else. It's like one of your seminars that you've traveled around the country doing that have gotten hundreds of thousands of views around the internet. So we'll be really digging into Bob Woodward today. And of course, people can sponsor Kevin by going to his Patreon page. And that's very important for people who want to see all this information. We'll be starting at 7 p.m. I also want to remind people that they can be following Kevin on Twitter. He's right there on Twitter. He is at Kevin_Shipp, and of course Shipp is spelled with 2 P's. Kevin is a frequent tweeter, and he is always putting out information that's at the top of the news. He's debunking stories that the Mockingbird media is putting out there. I'd love it, of course, as well if people would follow Crowdsource the Truth on Twitter. We are at CS the Truth. And you can, of course, also receive tonight's live stream and other exclusive programming by sponsoring Crowdsource the Truth on patreon.com/crowdsource the truth. So, Kevin, when you heard that Bob Woodward was coming out with this book, Fear, what was your initial reaction to that?
Well, I knew what he was doing. He's a shadow government operative, and he has been going all the way back to his naval CIA briefings to Nixon's NSC. So that was absolutely no surprise. And people have to understand, because it's critical and it's typical Bob Woodward, all he talks about are sources, unknown sources, no names, no positions, no nothing. That's the biggest red flag in reporting that there is. The Washington Post and the New York Times use it all the time, and it means one of two things. An unknown source or a source usually is someone from the CIA, or it has been invented or made up. So Bob Woodward does not give any names to these people who allegedly said these things at all, and to me that destroys the entire credibility of his book right there. I'll show you a little bit later when we go on at 7 that he is connected into this soft coup that's going on against Donald Trump. And we'll see that he goes back with the shadow government a couple of decades. So the book Fear has no names. It's all sourced. General Mattis and others have come out and said that his claims of what was said is absolute baloney. They were there. It never happened. It was never said. But that is classic Bob Woodward. He does that in his books. All the President's Men, Wired about John Belushi, Veil, The Secret Wars of the CIA, where I happened to be there at the time. He fabricates information. In other words, lies in every single one of those books. That's his MO. Essentially, he takes nonfiction and blends it together with fiction and then calls it nonfiction. So it's fiction with nonfiction, false accounts, false interviews, and then he portrays it when the book is published as nonfiction, which it is not.
Wow. One of the most important things I think that you've just said is that General Mattis has stated unequivocally that the incident, as Bob describes it, didn't occur. And then earlier today, I don't really like to watch CNN, but I happened to see it on the TV at the gym. Giuliani also said the story about him was untrue. And I found it really interesting that Bob Woodward released this tape of him calling Donald Trump at the White House, explaining how he tried to reach him and he called this person and he called that person. I mean, that seems a little strange to me that he would release the tape of the conversation about them not talking. It's almost so overt as to be obvious what he's doing. If he could get Trump on the phone like that, why wouldn't he wait? And I mean, you're writing a book about the President of the United States. Wouldn't you wait and get the president to speak about what's happening in the book if you wanted an honest account? Wouldn't you go and interview Mattis and say, what do you say about all these people saying these things about you? And wouldn't he interview Giuliani and Jay Sekulow and all these people who are so closely connected to the president and who these stories are all about? Why did he avoid interviewing them, if not for the exact reasons that you described? So I'm certainly looking forward to the information that you're going to share, and I hope people will join us at 7. The other thing I wanted to tell people about is fortheloveoffreedom.net, and of course that's Kevin's website. You can read all about his experience in the CIA, and most importantly, you can order Kevin's book, From the Company of Shadows. This is going to be the best place to order it from, because you don't need to support a CIA company like Amazon.com, and plus you can get the decoder sheet. How does it work exactly, Kevin, with the encoded message, and people get the book from you, it's hand signed, and they can decode the messages?
Yeah, it's the only way to get a hand signed copy, and it's also a way to get away from Amazon. The shadow government, I think the CIA attacked us, and Amazon ordered a bunch of books and turned around and unordered them just to mess with us. So there's several reasons, but at the website they can get it signed. It comes straight to me. I sign it, then it goes in the mail. In the back of that book, and the only way that people can get it, I have stamped the key to the code that I embedded in the book, exposing the CIA's blackouts in chapter 26. And then on the website, I've published the key to that code, so they can go in, and it's an alphanumeric code. I built it into the manuscript, and the CIA missed it. It basically exposes their illegal blackouts of information, doctor's diagnosis, illnesses, things like that, none of which is classified. So they can only get that off the site. And I also want to stress, too, on the site there is documented evidence of what I did in the CIA, who I was, who I worked for and with, and my experience. So when some of these trolls come out and try to cast aspersion on my credibility, I put that stuff in there for them just to shut them up. So they'll see a lot of that, and they'll see documented evidence of the CIA's cover-up of the case of the poisoning in my family. So there's a lot of stuff on there.
I'm so glad I asked you this question, because I come to fortheloveoffreedom.net rather frequently, but stupidly on my part, I didn't know that this is where the code was. So now I was a little mystified by this, so I'm glad you just straightened that out. Across the top here is the shadow code, and people can just click on that, and there are instructions and an alphanumeric code that will help you decipher the coded information in the book, which of course Kevin had to do to avoid the illegal, as you've told us, redaction of information that is not classified. So as you've told us, Ronald Reagan issued an executive order making it strictly illegal to redact information that is not related to national security, but merely embarrassing to these clandestine agencies. And we know there's a lot of information coming out that's worse than embarrassing. I think it's going to result in some of these guys getting themselves a nice pair of orange pajamas.
Yeah, it's criminal, yeah.
I hope that happens, and I also hope that people will join us just 17 minutes from now, only on Patreon. So if you are not yet a sponsor of Kevin Shipp, you can go to patreon.com/Kevin_Shipp, and make sure you remember that Kevin Shipp is spelled with 2 P's. Sponsors of Kevin will be able to view our exclusive live streams of the intelligence assessment. Our next one is coming up at 7 p.m. Eastern. People can also sponsor Crowdsource the Truth at patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, and this is going to be the only way to view the exclusive live streams of the intelligence assessment with Kevin Shipp. So Kevin, is there anything you want to share with our preview audience here before we break from our general broadcast here and prepare for the exclusive live stream?
Well, it's really heartening and fulfilling. We're building a large group of people who love the Constitution and patriotism that are coming aboard and sending some. I have a Discord chat where we talk back and forth. I just set up voice chat today and had a voice chat conversation with one of the sponsors. So it's really fulfilling and exciting. We're getting a lot of people joining, kind of a community that's getting this information and then acting on it after they see some of these programs.
Right. I'm glad you reminded me about Discord, and you're right. We are creating a community, and I mean, again, this isn't about putting information behind a paywall. We definitely don't want to restrict it, but the problem is The tactic that we've identified that's being used on Twitter and on YouTube involves the creation of multiple thousands of fake accounts. So by making it cost even $1 per month to have an account on Patreon, it really throws a wrench in the plan of these people that would use 10,000 or more accounts to try to downvote videos, to try to go into the chat and spread disinformation. So what we're really doing here is creating a group of people who are serious about learning this information, serious about acting on this information. And if you feel like you're one of those people, this is the time to get on to patreon.com/Kevin_Shipp with 2 P's, or to patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. And you can join us there in Discord, either in Kevin's Discord server or the Crowdsource the Truth Discord server. I think there's a way we can connect them, but I'm not exactly an expert with Discord. It's a little tricky, so certainly if anybody has any trouble with Discord, feel free to send an email to truth@crowdsourcethetruth.org, and by all means I'll be as helpful as I'm able with getting people on there. But you know, Kevin, what I think we're going to do right now is let's break from this YouTube, YouTube, Periscope, Facebook, VK.com, Gab.ai general audience preview, and we'll get set for our live stream where we're going to do a deep dive on Bob Woodward. And I'm very interested to hear about his intelligence background and his ties to the CIA.
You got it, Jason. We'll see you then, 7 o'clock.
Very good. All right, join us everyone in just 14 minutes. Patreon.com/Kevin_Shipp with 2 P's, or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. And of course, you can sponsor both Kevin and Crowdsource the Truth. We look forward to seeing everyone only on Patreon.